Hello mortals, I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. And it is time for another game of Shelve It or Shove It, the completely superficial way to pick books for your TBR based solely on their cover. Just to let you know, I am really far behind on my TBR. I left my Kindle in Reno visiting a sick friend, and I ordered a new Kindle and I wanted to show it to you. This is not Alice in Wonderland. This is a new cover I got for my Kindle. And I got the expensive one with the buttons because my finger gets sore scrolling through the pages. But this was created by a bookbinder in England, and I just thought it was a real cute cover for a Kindle, and you can fold it all the way back. And there are magnets to hold it. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link below. I just thought it was a very cute way to cover your e-reader. And by the way, this is not sponsored. Okay, so let's get started with young adult. First up is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. It looks like a couple of boys, probably persons of color, and it looks like there's a king or Christ-like figure behind them, silhouetted against the moon. It looks very cartoony. I think I'm going to shove it. Next up is Grown by Tiffany Jackson. It is a woman of color, just her head silhouetted against a mustard-colored background. Assume it's a contemporary. Don't really know what it's about, so I'm going to shove it. Next up is Punching the Air by Ibi Zoboy and Yusuf Salam. This has a young man, a black man, with this sort of paint swirl around him. Now this is much more dynamic than the last cover. I kind of like it. So I think I'm going to shelve it. Next up is Dear Justice by Nick Stone. Looks like a young black man silhouetted with, looks like barbed wire. This does not look like a happy story. I don't know if I'm in the mood for that, so I am going to shove it. Next up is Smash It by Francina Simone. Mistakes Were Made. And it's like a woman of color against a very colorful background. I like that they're doing all people of color this month, in young adult at least, but I don't know anything about this novel. Is it a fantasy, just a contemporary, romance? I'm going to have to shove it. Next we're going to go on to Kenny and the Book of Beasts by Tony Diterlizzi, the sequel to New York Times bestseller Kenny and the Dragon, and it has a very cute cover with a lion with a scorpion tail. Is that a minotaur? No, it's not a minotaur. Chimera? I don't know. Manticore. I think it's a manticore. Dungeons and Dragons, where are you now? Anyway, there's a rabbit driving this old car. It looks very cute. It's a sequel. Looks a little young, so I'm going to shove it. Next up is Maya in the Rising Dark by Rena Barron. Looks like a young girl of color against a burning city. Something's burning behind her. I'm just not interested. I'm going to shove it. Next up, Skunk and Badger by Amy Timberlake. Looks very cute. Looks very young. I'm going to shove it. Next up is Three Keys, a front desk novel by Kelly Yang. So I assume it's part of a series since it's a front desk novel. Never heard of it. In the front, there are 3 young kids sitting at a pool in front of a motel, the Cala Vista Hotel, where someone is putting Immigrants Welcome on it. I think it might be a little preachy. I think it's part of a series. I'm going to have to shove it. Finally, Little Bird by Cynthia Voigt. Looks like a children's picture book. I'm going to shove it. Next up, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. Now, he wrote Aragon, and he wrote it when he was really young. So I am very curious how he has evolved as an author. And the cover is kind of interesting. A person swimming through either a sea or a bunch of stars. I don't know what it's about, except it's science fiction. I am just curious about what his writing is like. So I'm going to shelve it. Next up is Hench by Natalie Zena Washnotz. And it's a red cover. There's a silhouette of a woman, and behind her, her shadow looks like it's wearing a cape. So I assume this is a superhero novel about a henchman or henchwoman. Hench person? Not really in the mood for a superhero. Going to shove it. Next up is Road Out of Winter by Allison Stein. It's kind of a plain cover. The background's kind of interesting. A blue forest with people moving through it. Not giving me any idea what it's about, so going to shove it. Next up, Architects of Memory by Karen Osborne, a memory war novel. Now, I do really like this cover, but it sounds like it's part of a series. Don't know if I want to get in a science fiction series right now, but I do like the cover. It looks like a person in a spacesuit, and there looks to be an explosion behind him, and the person is flying through space. But I'm going to have to shove it. Finally, we have a Star Wars novel, Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising by Timothy Zahn, who I know is a good author, but I'm not interested in Star Wars novels right now. So I'm going to shove it. Now we're going to move on into fantasy. First up is Susanna Clarke's Piranesi. She's the author of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. The cover is a little plain. There's a satyr on a pedestal. So I did really like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I wonder if it's as huge of a book as that one was, because that would probably play a factor. I wonder if it's a sequel. Probably not. I'm curious enough that I'm going to shelve it. Next up is Battleground by Jim Butcher, a Dresden Files novel. Now, I haven't been keeping up with the Dresden Files, so I'm not going to pick up the latest book. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Apparently an international bestseller. It looks like windows of a airplane, and within the windows there's like a person, a plane, a book, a car, a whale. I don't know what this is about. Maybe alternate dimensions. Could be anything. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is A Deadly Education, a novel by Naomi Novik, one of my favorite authors. But the cover's kind of plain. It looks like a book being opened, and it looks like an astrology wheel or phases of the moon. Don't know, but just based on the author, I'm going to shelve it. Finally, The Constant Rabbit by Jasper Fforde. I have read Jasper Fforde before. I read one of his middle grades. It was kind of a humorous satire. Wasn't really a satire, but a humorous novel. I forgot the title. But anyway, there's a rabbit on the cover with an X through it. I was just kind of okay with his middle grade. Not getting enough from the cover, so I'm going to have to shove it. Okay, so I have shelved Punching the Air by Ibi Zoboi and Yusuf Salam, young adult, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, science fiction, and two fantasies, Susanna Clarke's Piranesi and A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. So I don't think I'm going to do the young adult. Yeah. So there are 3 books that I got mostly based on the author, Christopher Paolini, Susanna Clarke, and Naomi Novik. So the question is, which author do I want to read? Now, Christopher Paolini, I'll just be getting just to see his evolution as an author. Susanna Clarke, I wonder if it's going to be a huge novel like her last one. Naomi Novik, I gotta go with Naomi Novik. I'm just going to do one book this month because I'm a little bit backlogged. So I'm going to go with Naomi Novik's A Deadly Education. Now, let's see what this book is about. It's Scholomance Book 1, so it's part of a series. Not crazy about that. She's done so many good standalone fantasies, but okay, she's doing a series. Lesson 1 of the Scholomance. Learning has never been this deadly. A deadly education is set at Scholomance, a school for the magically gifted, where failure means certain death for real. Until one girl, Elle, begins to unlock its many secrets. There are no teachers, no holidays, and no friendships, save strategic ones. Survival is more important than any letter grade, for the school won't allow its students to leave until they graduate or die. So this is a magic school trope popularized by Harry Potter and Hogwarts, only this looks like it's much darker and more adult. Kind of reminds me of what Les Grossman did with The Magicians, which was a dark twist on Narnia, and what Maguire did with Wicked, which was a dark twist on The Wizard of Oz. So I am curious about this twist on the Magic College trope. Okay, have to admit that magic schools have been a little bit overdone, but this is an adult version, so I'm thinking The Magicians, honestly, but I know Naomi Novik is an excellent author, so I am open and curious about her version. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't, and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.